Many stories feature characters who mirror one another. Often, two characters who are opposed may share an underlying similarity. It's not uncommon for a hero to see some trace of themselves within a villain, or for two parallel narratives to reflect each other. In some stories, identities can intermingle and even merge. Characters may long to transform into someone else, or force their own identity upon another. No work of art I've ever seen has explored this kind of mirroring as deeply and as beautifully as John Cassavetes' 1977 film, Opening Night. Opening Night is about a famous actress named Myrtle Gordon, who is in the process of rehearsing a play called The Second Woman. One evening, after a preview performance, she encounters an obsessive young fan who dies in an accident whilst chasing her car. Myrtle is haunted by the ghost of this young woman, and she is visited by what appear to be either hallucinations or apparitions of her as she struggles to prepare for the play's titular opening night. As the film proceeds, Myrtle's behaviour becomes more disturbed and her drinking more excessive. She begins to improvise, both in rehearsals and in front of audiences, much to the chagrin of her collaborators.
I mean, we all know you changed all the lines tonight. Doesn't that tell you something? I mean, don't you say to yourself, Myrtle, maybe I'm not so smart.
The play's writer, Sarah Good, is especially antagonistic towards Myrtle, continually demanding that she stick to the script.
All you have to do is say the lines clearly and with a degree of feeling.
The play is about getting older, which forces Myrtle, now approaching middle age, to reflect on the person she once was, as well as the person she may yet become. Opening Night traps us within a house of mirrors. The protagonist is surrounded by characters who reflect different aspects of herself. The conflicts on stage reflect those happening behind the scenes. Almost every character in the film is mirrored by another in some way. The locations mirror each other. And even we, the audience, have a mirror image in the film. Opening Night is also a reflection on the work, life, and public personas of its creators. John Cassavetes, the movie's writer and director, perhaps more than any filmmaker who ever lived, imbues his work with his own personality and identity. Opening Night, like many of his best films, stars his own wife, Gena Rowlands, the greatest film actress of all time. Opening Night is filled with references to the other films Cassavetes and Rowlands made together. It is a reflection both on their body of work and on their way of working, as well as a reflection on what it means to be an artist when the boundary between your work and your life is porous to the point that you can sometimes struggle to tell which is which. Near the beginning of the film, Myrtle is accosted by her young fan Nancy after a preview performance of the play. Nancy is overcome with emotion to the point that she is manic, embracing Myrtle and throwing herself at her feet. She worships Myrtle as if she were a god and is thrown into a kind of panicked disbelief at being in her presence. We never get a clear view of Nancy. She is always shrouded in some way. Her eyes are always covered by her hat and her hair. Later on, the rain in the car window will form a curtain that separates both us and Myrtle from her. Even the camera lens itself goes out of its way to avoid capturing a clear view of her, often deliberately leaving her face out of focus. The two parts of her that we most clearly see are the colour of her hair and the shape of her mouth. And in both features, she bears a striking resemblance to Myrtle. Myrtle is surrounded by men throughout this scene, and they seem uncomfortable with Nancy's emotional display. And they physically form a barrier of separation between the two women as they take Myrtle away in the car.
Come see me tomorrow, okay?
The glass of the car window becomes a kind of mirror that seems to reflect a distorted and distressed version of Myrtle back at her. Nancy presses her hand against the glass, and we see Myrtle go to return the gesture, as if mirroring her, but she aborts it halfway through and her hand limply drops. Nancy repeatedly blows kisses at Myrtle, but with a desperate intensity that makes it seem as if she is trying to physically transmit emotions that she can't verbalize, or perhaps send forth her soul into Myrtle's body. Nancy is struck by a car as Myrtle and her colleagues pull away.
Oh my God.
I think it's that kid. Oh.
The men in the car seem to have some pity in their eyes, but mostly just annoyance at being inconvenienced.
I think it's that kid.
Myrtle wants to go help her, but she is restrained physically by the play's director Manny, and they drive off. When they arrive at the hotel, Myrtle is still shaken by the event, but the men around her are mainly concerned with eating,
We've got to eat.
and just want to move on and forget about what happened.
What?
The last restaurant's going to close.
Nancy can be read as an external manifestation of Myrtle's inner state, of the feelings she keeps bottled up inside. The discomfort, annoyance, and indifference that Myrtle's male collaborators show to Nancy foreshadows how they will react to Myrtle's fraying psyche later in the film.
You want to be young again, isn't it?
The day after the accident, Myrtle struggles to rehearse a scene that involves her being slapped in the face, and she has an emotional breakdown on stage, refusing to work.
No! No more!
Afterwards, Myrtle goes to her dressing room alone and sits in front of her mirror. There's a lengthy shot of her reflection, and because the camera is at an angle to the mirror, her face has a ghostly, semi-translucent double image emanating from it. It's as though her identity is fracturing, or some normally invisible aspect of her psyche is revealing itself. She looks to the side to see what at first seems like it could be another reflection, a figure dressed in black just like her, with blonde hair of a similar length with similar curls. Then we see a close-up of what we realise are Nancy's eyes. They are green just like Myrtle's. We have to wonder, having not seen her eyes in the earlier sequence, whether Nancy's eyes were really green, or if this isn't really her, but rather some kind of projection or reflection of Myrtle. The shots have a very shallow depth of field, giving the sequence a sort of dreamy feeling. The camera angles seem to mirror each other. When we see each woman, she is almost always framed by the blurry outline of her counterpart. Visually, it almost feels as though they are merging together. They mirror one another's movement, raising their hands in synchronicity, consummating the aborted gesture from the previous scene, but their fingers don't quite touch. It's as if there is still a thin layer of glass separating them. Myrtle and Nancy match one another's facial expressions too, both mouths curling into similar smiles, until, at the end, Myrtle's smile drops, and we see a hint of fear and tension on her face, while Nancy's smile intensifies into something that feels almost threatening or malevolent. The sound makes Nancy disappear. Myrtle looks startled and annoyed. She seems to search the room for Nancy. She quickly looks into the broken hand mirror, as if she knows she's more likely to see Nancy there than in the physical space of the room itself. Following this, Myrtle goes to Nancy's home while her family are sitting shiva. It's immediately apparent that Myrtle is intruding and disrupting their mourning.
I'm Myrtle Gordon.
Look, excuse me, but this happens to be a very, very bad time for us.
She comments on Nancy's eyes, again a part of Nancy that she didn't really get a clear view of.
She was very beautiful. I did see her. She had extraordinary eyes.
And we have to wonder if Myrtle emphasizes her eyes because they resemble her own, and Myrtle sees Nancy as a version or extension of herself. Nancy's Jewish identity is something that Myrtle, I think it's safe to assume, does not share. She seems out of place in this environment and unsure of how to behave whilst this mourning ritual is occurring. I think she is really here for herself rather than the family. She is looking for material to help construct a version of Nancy in her mind that suits her needs, and is failing in that attempt.
You don't have children. If you had, you wouldn't have come here.
Please.
Later, when talking to the playwright Sarah Good, Myrtle mentions her visions of Nancy to someone else for the first time.
I have this dead girl. Do you remember that kid that was in the accident? She's so open. She's she's really just on top of everything emotionally. She reminds me of...
When Myrtle trails off here, I think it's very clear that she's going to say Nancy reminds her of a younger version of herself. The description she gives of this girl she's seeing does not conform at all to the Nancy we saw earlier in the film. She, very much, did not seem to be on top of everything emotionally. But it is similar to her description of herself in the film's opening voiceover.
When I was 17, I could do anything. It was so easy. My emotions were so close to the surface.
You said you have this dead girl. What does have mean? Is she here now? In this room?
Sarah's question clearly provokes fear in Myrtle. Sarah, potentially inadvertently, seems to place in Myrtle's head the notion that Nancy's presence is something she might not dictate or even be aware of. At this point, it's ambiguous what exactly Nancy is. Is she a ghost that haunts Myrtle? A kind of imaginary friend that Myrtle has consciously chosen to create to aid her both as an actress and a person? Or is she a hallucination, a sign that Myrtle's mental state is starting to fray, and that she is slipping into psychosis? Whatever she is, we are getting hints that Myrtle is not fully in control of Nancy. Nancy's next appearance happens shortly afterwards, when Myrtle is in her hotel room with the director Manny. Myrtle goes to the bathroom, and we get a kind of fake-out moment where we think we see Myrtle washing her face, but the camera pans to reveal her sitting in the background, meaning that we realise the person at the sink was actually Nancy. Nancy's face is, for me at least, kind of terrifying. She looks like a predator sizing Myrtle up. The soft focus once again lends a dream-like quality to the sequence.
I like the music.
Nancy gives what sounds to me like a scripted theatrical monologue.
Soothing sound. I used to play it on my stereo.
Myrtle looks as if she is caught up in a nostalgic reverie, and it feels like the words are hers, and Nancy is a vessel for expressing them. This changes when Nancy talks about sex, which seems to disturb Myrtle.
And men. Older men. And boys. Always pick me up. I don't want to hear about your sex life.
It's as though Nancy is either marking out her identity as being separate from Myrtle, or, if she is a younger version of Myrtle, she is starting to dredge up parts of Myrtle's past and her psyche that she'd rather keep hidden. As with Nancy's first appearance, there's a knock at the door, but this time it doesn't cause her to disappear. We see how Nancy has a look of barely contained fury at Manny's interruption, whilst Myrtle adopts a sweet, pliant smile. Is Nancy's expression representative of Myrtle's true feelings, whilst her own face is a mask? Or does this indicate a further rupture between the two women? Myrtle now speaks as if reciting a monologue.
If I could rid myself of you.
Are you going over your lines?
When he asks if she's going over lines, does he refer to what she just said? Or is he talking about the entire monologue that Nancy just gave? From Manny's perspective, could he hear Myrtle's voice saying these words through the wall? Despite Myrtle's clear discomfort at Nancy's mention of sex, she now reflects on her own sexual past with Manny.
If I could rid myself of the thought of being your wife.
And chooses to seduce him. After a performance of the play in which Myrtle goes off script, her collaborators stage a kind of intervention surrounding her in her dressing room, where she is also surrounded by reflections of herself.
That's not what I was talking about, David. You know that.
Sarah brings up Nancy, much to Myrtle's discomfort.
Is it the girl that was killed?
What girl?
No, the autograph found.
Girl that was killed?
Have you seen her since she died?
Myrtle insists on her control over Nancy and claims that she consciously constructed her as an acting tool.
I made her up, but she's mine. She's my fantasy.
Sarah advances the possibility that Nancy is a spirit of some kind.
Can I take Myrtle to my spiritualist?
Oh, spiritual. Wait a minute.
And also that she represents Myrtle's younger self.
I wanted to see how it would feel like to be
young again.
Are we really one person with a single identity throughout our lives? Or do we transform into someone else as we age? All of us change over time. If I were to meet my 18-year-old self now, he would be, in many ways, a different person to me. He'd have a different temperament, different views, different priorities. Yet I once was him. I grew from him. I have memories of what it was like to be him. Our past selves are, in some sense, like ghosts. They are present and alive within our memories. They are part of what makes us who we are now, yet they are also absent and in some sense dead. The person I was is gone, and cannot be brought back.
At some time in life, youth dies, and the second woman in us takes over. I believe that Nancy is the first woman in my own life.
Sarah takes Myrtle to a spiritualist, as she seems to attribute some supernatural provenance to Nancy's appearance.
Actresses create characters. I created Nancy because I thought there were certain scenes in the play where I was having trouble visualizing my own life.
Myrtle's explanation to the psychic medium asserts her control over Nancy, but also, to some extent, confirms Sarah's interpretation of events, with her finally vocalizing that Nancy is indeed a younger version of herself, and that the play is about aging. Myrtle ultimately rejects the notion that the seance will help her.
I'm sorry,
And returns to her hotel room.
You know, it's not your fault. You're only 18.
Where she starts to address a seemingly absent Nancy.
It's not my fault either. I'm an actress. I have to...
The sequence is chaotic, there's a flurry of cuts. The focus is shallow, the camera framing erratic, making it hard to tell one woman from another. The fight seems less angry or sadistic, and more like two frightened, panicked animals lashing out at one another, both feeling as though they are under attack. After this, Myrtle goes to see Sarah.
I need to get in. Have you got the key?
She is clearly acting with reason and forethought, manipulating the cleaner to give her Sarah's keys. So when she engages in this act of self-harm, it feels like a calculated performance, rather than an act of manic spontaneity. We might wonder if Nancy is doing this to Myrtle, only this time we are seeing events from Sarah's perspective, so she isn't visible to us, yet Myrtle claims otherwise.
Oh my God, what are you doing?
Don't worry, Sarah. I'm doing this to myself.
This prompts Sarah to take her to another spiritualist, who doesn't actually have a chance to practice her craft before Myrtle sees Nancy in the room. Nancy approaches threateningly and gives a speech where she asserts her power over Myrtle.
I'm not afraid of you. You're an older woman. You're frightened, and you're a coward.
When they fight, there is a truly bizarre and jarring series of cuts. At first it seems as if Nancy strikes Myrtle, but then the image is flipped and Myrtle is striking Nancy. The overlapping, clipped, grunting noises are edited together in a way that seems artificial, like there's a glitch or error in the film at this moment. It's as though the strange switching of identities that Myrtle and Nancy undergo disrupts the form of the film itself. Myrtle, in becoming the aggressor and destroying Nancy, is also incorporating Nancy's violent rage into herself, and perhaps reconciling herself with the anger that she has long been repressing. Myrtle pelts Nancy's lifeless body with various objects, most seemingly made of glass. It's as if, in killing Nancy, she is also shattering a mirror. She is both destroying the reflection, but also the boundary that keeps her separate from that reflection.
Is she dead?
If Nancy is in fact a reflection of Myrtle's past self, then Sarah seems perhaps to be a reflection of Myrtle's future, or at least one possible future. There are a number of similarities between the two women. They both have similar colour hair and eyes. They both like to wear black, although Sarah's fashion taste is somewhat more extravagant. They both work in the theatre, and they are both seemingly single. Myrtle is implied to be a very famous movie star, and Sarah is played by Joan Blondell, who was a major Hollywood star back in the 1930s.
You put a rifle in his hand.
To me, Sarah seems to represent a version of Myrtle that devotes herself to her work, and as such, never marries or has children.
Maybe I should have gotten married. Maybe I should have had children. Did that ever occur to you?
Years ago.
Therefore, she grows into old age alone, a possibility that Myrtle is now faced with at this juncture in her life.
You see, it's too late. You understand that, don't you?
Sarah's play, The Second Woman, centers on a character named Virginia, who, as far as I can tell from the fragments of the play we get to see, is trapped in a loveless and childless marriage, and feels her own desirability as a woman has diminished. So she goes to see her first husband as a means of reclaiming her lost youth, with disastrous consequences. Virginia's failure as a woman.
What kind of woman are you?
Her failure to have kids.
My wife has easy babies. That's right.
And her failure to maintain her desirability and her relationships with men are all thrown repeatedly in her face.
See this? I wore this veil because he used to be so crazy about veils.
As Myrtle points out, the play lacks hope.
Just please tell me what this play doesn't express. Hope?
It seems to have a fatalistic view of aging, that it diminishes and lessens women in a fundamental way. Myrtle rejects this idea on an artistic level, but also a human one.
I'm sick to death of hearing how old this woman is. Who gives a damn how old this woman is? Does she win or does she lose?
She asserts that Virginia is a reflection of Sarah.
Every playwright writes a play about herself. You've written a play about aging. Well, I'm not your age.
Myrtle starts to improvise, changing the dialogue and character to find a way of reinterpreting Virginia to make her more relatable and inspiring for both herself and other women in the audience.
If I can reach a woman sitting in the audience who thinks that nobody understands anything and my character goes through everything that she's going through, well, I feel like I've done a good job.
Sarah is incredibly resistant to Myrtle's alteration of what she sees as her character, and wants her to simply stick to the script.
Why can't you read my lines?
The different artistic interpretations each woman has of Virginia reflect their views of themselves and each other as women. As such, the battle between them becomes more than just a matter of artistic differences, but rather a deep psychic conflict that imperils both women's sense of identity and self-image. Despite the antagonism that exists between Myrtle and Sarah, there is also a kind of intimacy between them. When Myrtle comes to Sarah's room at night, it's reminiscent of a frightened child going to her mother after a nightmare. She even ultimately spends the night in Sarah's bed.
Be all right with you if I spent the night.
Sarah often adopts a protective, almost maternal posture towards Myrtle.
Get some sleep, will you? Come on, sleep.
Even if this is sometimes a fraudulent cover for her own disdain.
You're that little bitch. There you are. Now, don't be worried. Promise?
There are many scenes where Myrtle and Sarah separate themselves from their male collaborators.
Please let me talk to her alone. Sarah, please.
Despite their differences, they seem to be more able to talk to each other about the themes of the play and what it means to be a woman than the mostly clueless men who surround them.
David, I want to talk to her. Wait outside, right?
As with her connection to Nancy, Myrtle's relationship with Sarah is marked by ambivalence, perhaps precisely because the two women see so much of themselves reflected in each other. The characters and events of the play itself are also a mirror image to what's happening offstage. In the play, we see Virginia going back and forth between two men, her current husband, who seems bitter, cynical, and withdrawn, and then her former husband, who is prone to fits of intense rage. Meanwhile, Myrtle herself has two key relationships among her male collaborators. First, there's Maurice, the actor who plays Virginia's husband, with whom she has recently had a romantic relationship, which ended under unclear circumstances.
Well, love moves at a hell of a rate of speed, doesn't it?
Maurice's cold attitude towards Myrtle mirrors his onstage counterpart.
You're not a woman to me anymore.
You're a professional. You want to get to me, you don't get to me. There's no way for you to get to me.
Indeed, part of the reason for this seems to be that he doesn't want his feelings for her affecting his performance, and is therefore deliberately mirroring the character he is playing.
I have a small part. It's unsympathetic. The audience doesn't like me. I can't afford to be in love with you.
Manny, the director of the play, is also implied to be a former lover of Myrtle's, but from a longer time ago.
If I could rid myself of the thought of being your wife.
Oh, my God.
Just as Virginia revisits her first husband during a moment of crisis, Myrtle rekindles her romance with Manny, seemingly as a kind of coping strategy. There are several scenes where Manny berates and bullies Myrtle in front of the rest of the cast and crew,
I don't want any smart answers.
who will occasionally intervene to defend her.
Now we get your goddamn tears.
Oh, come on, Manny, that's too strong.
Meanwhile, there is a lengthy scene in the play where Virginia's first husband yells at and attacks her in front of his family, some of whom try to protect her from his tirade. Directly mirroring the scenes with Manny.
Stay away. What does it prove?
The boundary between the drama on stage and life behind the scenes is incredibly porous throughout the film. It's often hard to tell when Myrtle is in character or not, during rehearsals and on stage,
I'm alone.
both for us, the audience, and the characters themselves.
Living with this guy
For instance, when Myrtle seems to have a genuine breakdown during a rehearsal, the producer applauds her for it, thinking she's still acting.
Bravo.
As previously mentioned, there are several off-stage moments where Myrtle seems to be performing or acting in some way, such as her self-harm in front of Sarah, the moment where Manny believes she's reading lines, and even the moment where she's mirroring Nancy in the dressing room during their first meeting is reminiscent of a common acting exercise. Myrtle's New Haven hotel room seems designed to deliberately evoke the stage. It's bizarrely large, empty and sparse, with huge red curtains like theatre drapes. From the stage, Myrtle often retreats to her dressing room, a private space with a mirror in it, where she first communes with Nancy, although it is frequently invaded by others. Likewise, Myrtle's hotel bathroom serves the same purpose. It's a sanctum where she can retreat into solitude, but it is also subject to trespass.
What the hell are you doing?
It also has a mirror in it, and is the site of Nancy's second visitation. Just as theatricality impinges on the real world, Myrtle constantly interrupts the play with her improvisations and fourth wall breaks,
Time is a killer, isn't it, folks?
destabilizing the boundary between Virginia the character and Myrtle the performer. We never get to see very much of the play without Myrtle's improvisation, meaning that we don't know what parts are in the script and what parts she's changing,
Oh, come on, really, I would like to know.
while the other characters are often outraged by her deviations.
What the hell is she up to now?
We are able to judge what's happening on stage without the preconception of what it should be. During one performance, there's a scene between Myrtle and Maurice that's supposed to be an argument. Maurice becomes increasingly antagonistic towards Myrtle, while she is responding with tenderness and introspection.
What a mess I am. I'm begging again.
It's as if they are reading from two different scripts.
Marty.
Maurice's slap is as awkward and inappropriate as her response to it. The fact that one is scripted and the other isn't seems irrelevant. Maurice is forced to break character to an extent, and a genuine tension fills the room, with nobody sure what precisely is happening.
Sweetheart, sweetheart.
Is Myrtle improvising while still performing in character, or is she actually having a breakdown? Myrtle has disrupted the play, but also created another theatrical experience, perhaps one that feels more real and compelling than the scripted scene that was supposed to happen.
Virginia, I didn't hit you that hard.
Many shots throughout the sequence are framed so that the camera is in the literal position of an audience member, surrounded by the heads of others. The film was made before home video, and was never likely to be broadcast on television, meaning Cassavetes would have expected that anyone watching opening night would have been doing so in a movie theatre, with an audience, just like this. The heads on screen are therefore an extension of the heads a viewer is surrounded by in the cinema, blurring the boundary between on-screen and off-screen space.
I was a drunk with a pad.
But as the performance starts to go off the rails, we cut to a high-angle shot from behind the stage. It's as though we have been transported onto the stage. and have been made to look back at ourselves. The phrase breaking the fourth wall is used to describe moments when a character acknowledges the audience. The fourth wall refers to a convention that originated within naturalistic theatre, that actors ought to pretend that the edge of the stage is another wall, and behave as though the audience isn't there.
You're a wonderful actor, Maurice.
When Myrtle says it's only a play to Maurice,
We must never forget this is only a play.
She is also saying it's only a film to us. The audience in the background of the shot becomes a reflection of the audience in the movie theatre. The fourth wall isn't really broken, but rather transformed into a mirror. Then when we cut back to Maurice, it's from the audience's point of view again. He is still framed according to the initial visual language of the scene, with the camera position emphasizing his refusal to engage with what Myrtle's doing, and trying to maintain separation from her. The sequence is not explicitly metatextual, as she doesn't actually turn to the camera, but the implication is there. This moment is asking us to reflect on our own role in the story, as viewers and interpreters of events, and both Myrtle and Cassavetes seem to be reaching out with a direct appeal to think about how the themes of this work are reflected in our own lives.
You're a wonderful actor, Maurice.
Like us, the audience watching Myrtle doesn't know how the play is supposed to go. When things go off script, unlike the rest of the cast and crew, they don't realise something is wrong, they just see it for what it is, rather than a deviation. When Maurice cackles at the defeated, immobile Myrtle and the lights go down, the moment actually works as a piece of theatre, despite the lack of pre-planning or intention behind it. And so the audience applauds. Cassavetes used a real audience of people who didn't know what the play was about, meaning their reactions are actually genuine. Although the knowledge that they are in a film with cameras pointed at them may have influenced them somewhat. During another later performance of the play, Myrtle again starts to improvise, but this time humorously, ignoring the tragic tone of the story and making jokes.
Hello?
I'm gonna kill that Jimmy.
No Esther isn't here either. Call back, will you?
Riffing with the audience like a stand-up comedian or a nightclub entertainer.
How about those lonely days? How about them? How you doing?
Manny starts to lower the curtain to shut Myrtle down, and a sort of farcical battle of wills ensues. Myrtle transforms the play from a downbeat and hopeless tragedy into a reasonably successful meta-comedy. Yet she relies on her star power and charisma to get through the performance, and she doesn't really create anything especially meaningful or profound.
Humiliating!
For the audience, this play, half improvised and half written, is fundamentally quite incoherent and confusing, leaving them unclear of the intention behind it.
What was wrong tonight? I mean, the place seems so mixed up. Two of them hated it, and the other one didn't know what was going on at all.
Nevertheless, many do respond positively.
Half the audience loved the play. The other half hated it.
Myrtle's collaborators can't conceive of the notion that she's created an iteration of the previous work, which, though imperfect, struck a chord with much of the audience. They can only see what happened as a mistake. They have an idea of the way the play is supposed to go, and because the performance wasn't a reflection of that idea, it must therefore be deemed a failure.
What do you think is going wrong?
Nothing.
She doesn't think anything is going wrong.
Another character who mirrors Myrtle is Manny's wife, Dorothy. It's implied that Myrtle was in love with Manny many years ago, and that the relationship was serious enough that they considered marriage.
If I could rid myself of the thought of being your wife.
Oh, my God.
In some ways, Dorothy seems like the alternate, imagined version of Myrtle, who married Manny and then gave up her career to be a housewife.
Maybe I should have gotten married. Maybe I should have had children. Did that ever occur to you?
Years ago.
Manny sees Myrtle's character Virginia as being in some ways a reflection of Dorothy, and wants Dorothy to spend time with Myrtle in order to inspire her.
And you should go to all the rehearsals. You should watch everything. You should sit with Myrtle, fill her in on yourself, and be part of it.
Do I get paid for this?
If you understudy, I'll pay you.
When Manny mentions the idea of Dorothy being Myrtle's understudy, it points to the possibility that Dorothy is herself an actress. Early in the film, when the cast and crew are mobbed by a crowd of autograph seekers who are mostly interested in Myrtle, one or two of them want Dorothy's signature. Something that makes her uncomfortable to the point that she retreats.
Get a cab. I'll meet you at the restaurant.
Just as Dorothy is an alternate self for Myrtle, a fork in the road not taken, perhaps on some level she herself views Myrtle as living an alternate version of her life, where she didn't get married and instead focused on her artistic ambitions. Early in the film, there's a scene where Dorothy and Manny, despite being tired, embittered, and ambivalent about the state of their relationship, gradually work their way towards a moment of tentative intimacy with one another, which is interrupted by Myrtle calling on the phone at 4:30 in the morning. Manny uses this as an opportunity to distance himself from his wife, and from this moment largely ignores her while prioritizing Myrtle's needs and feelings.
All right, sweetheart.
It's 4:30 in the morning.
Yes, I know it is lonely.
Ridiculously, he tells Myrtle,
There's no one I love more than you at this moment. You know I love you.
Husband of the Year, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, Dorothy engages in a number of tactics, ploys, and performances to try and win Manny's attention. When Manny is discussing with Myrtle the scene in which she is going to be slapped,
Well, what's wrong with being slapped?
Dorothy flops down in a kind of mock death as an act of protest,
There's nothing humiliating about it.
which directly mirrors and foreshadows what Myrtle will do the following day in rehearsals, and later on stage. Again, real life bleeds into the theatre. Manny ultimately ignores and dismisses all of Dorothy's pleas for attention,
It's nothing, just my wife. Right.
and stays focused on Myrtle.
Of course I'll leave the phone up.
When we look at the specific things she does, they all seem to reflect an inner longing or sublimated emotion. She tries a kind of seductive dance, indicating a yearning for intimacy, play fighting that bespeaks anger, and finally pretending to die, which seems to display a sense of despair. However, each of these performances takes the form of jovial, childish play acting, as if Dorothy is unable to contend with her own emotions, and must treat them as being fundamentally unserious. Perhaps she is motivated by a fear of alienating Manny by being too open in her need for his attention. Yet beneath this performance lies a kind of plea that Manny will look beneath the whimsical mask she wears and see the longing that lies beneath. It's a test that Manny fails, which is especially ironic given that at the start of the scene, he evinced a desire to understand her loneliness,
I'm gonna go crazy if you don't tell me what it's like to be alone as a woman.
only to go on to cause and ignore that very emotion.
Hey, you see, you have no sense of humor. I told you that.
Dorothy being named Myrtle's understudy is interesting, as she essentially becomes Myrtle's shadow, following and silently observing her, perhaps with the need to later imitate and function as a substitute. Of course, Dorothy is not a real understudy, as when Myrtle disappears later in the film, it doesn't cross anyone's mind even for a moment that Dorothy could replace her. Dorothy's dark hair and eyes stand in contrast to Myrtle's, again emphasizing her as a kind of shadow. In one notable moment, while Myrtle is in the throes of a manic episode, Dorothy stands behind her, ignored or unnoticed by the other characters. Yet Cassavetes makes us constantly aware of her presence, and her contrast to Myrtle in demeanor and expression. Dorothy is literally framed by a poster for the play, which is a silhouetted, or shadow, image of Myrtle. The title of the play, The Second Woman, feels like a label attaching itself to Dorothy in this moment, who is eclipsed in importance by Myrtle in the view of every other character, even, or perhaps especially, her husband, as well as being literally eclipsed visually in this shot. At the climax of the scene, Myrtle's head moves erratically from side to side, and Dorothy, consciously or unconsciously, seems to mimic the action. As everyone else leaves, the camera lingers on Dorothy, and there's a really strange, pained, ambivalent smile on her face. To me, it seems as though she feels as if she's reached inside Myrtle and felt her emotions for a second, and is both frightened and intoxicated by the experience. In many ways, Dorothy is a kind of audience surrogate figure, an on-screen reflection of us. When Myrtle articulates to Sarah how her goal is to affect a woman in the audience,
If I can reach a woman sitting in the audience who thinks that nobody understands anything and my character goes through everything that she's going through, well, I feel like I've done a good job.
there's an irony to the fact that Dorothy, the woman she largely ignores and whose husband she sleeps with, ends up being that very woman. At the climax of the film, on the play's Broadway opening night, Myrtle disappears following her confrontation with Nancy.
Hello, Myrtle.
Eventually showing up to the theatre very late and very, very drunk. She improvises on stage again.
No, I'm not alone. I've been living with this guy.
The other actors this time start to join her in the improvisations and mirror what she's doing.
Go on.
You were married to him, right, honey?
Yeah, but it didn't mean anything. It was just for a little bit of time. It didn't mean anything.
Do you have any kids?
No. I don't have any kids now.
Finally, there comes the scene between Myrtle and Maurice.
See you on stage.
Myrtle has sobered up somewhat by this point, and is going into this scene with everyone seemingly expecting antagonism and strife between her and Maurice.
I'm gonna bury that bastard.
You make it to your second entrance, you know who's going to be waiting for you? Maurice.
Happiness, fun, emotion.
This time Maurice plays along and improvises with her, firstly in a mocking manner,
I am Superman!
Hey,
I am Superman!
mostly just trying to get laughs.
I am Superman!
But eventually seeming to accept Myrtle's premise, that they should use the scene as a jumping off point to express something authentic and meaningful.
I'm getting older. What do we do about that?
At one point, they start play fighting with each other, and it's reminiscent of the sequence earlier in the film where Dorothy is trying to get Manny's attention.
Just a second, darling. Cut it out, will you, please?
In some ways, the stage performance feels like a recapitulation of that scene, but where Dorothy is actually able to get Manny to respond to her and engage in the kind of playful interaction she was looking for. At the end of the performance, the entire audience breaks into rapturous applause. Yet we focus in on Dorothy's reaction specifically, and she seems highly moved. I think she is not just responding to the performance on stage, but rather she, like us, has been an audience member observing Myrtle through this entire journey. The performance she just saw is an extension of the performance she's been watching Myrtle give the whole time. After the performance, Dorothy comes backstage to celebrate with everyone, and the very final shot of the film is Dorothy snubbing Peter Bogdanovich to warmly hug Myrtle, and the freeze frame of their embrace holds as the credits roll. Literally, this moment is an affirmation that Myrtle got her wish of finally getting through to a woman in the audience. But symbolically, this is her reconciling and forming a connection with a reflection or shadow of herself that she was previously estranged and alienated from. This moment specifically mirrors the scene from the beginning, where Nancy rushes up to embrace Myrtle. Yet this moment is less fraught and intense, seeming more like a moment of genuine mutual warmth and understanding, rather than Nancy's overbearing, one-sided need for affirmation.
If I get angry with you, I punch you right in the nose. Is that right? No.
The final kind of mirroring that we see in the film is in the way that Cassavetes reflects on the other work he's made with his wife Gena Rowlands.
Does she know you've got that boy down here?
As well as reflecting on their careers, personas, and ways of working. John Cassavetes was an actor who became a director, partially because he felt frustrated with how he perceived Hollywood films would not let actors fully express themselves.
I think if you were in an ordinary movie, someone would say, pick up the dialogue, or let's go here, or this is what you should do, we need a little pizzazz here, and all that stuff, and that would be disastrous.
He set out to very specifically create a kind of actor's cinema.
And I'm telling you, I look at other women and I'm with them, and you know something? It's nothing.
Cassavetes' work is often associated with improvising.
Hey, Benny, isn't he a smash? Ooh.
His first film as a director, Shadows from 1959, ends with text saying, "The film you have just seen was an improvisation." And the dialogue for many of his films was often said to have been made up on the spot.
Give me a cigarette.
Now?
Yeah, now.
Although this assertion is apparently false.
On the Cassavetes films,
They
fine.
lived a lot.
A lot of ad-lib.
I think it was a lot, but a lot less than most people think.
He wrote a lot.
Yeah, John was really a writer. He was a born writer. He wrote every day of his life.
Whether or not Cassavetes utilized improvisation, in the strict sense that actors were making up their dialogue on the fly or not, his work is definitely marked by an emphasis on performance and improvisation, both in terms of style and theme. His films often consist of very long scenes, where actors portray very intense emotional states.
Now listen to me.
Many of his collaborators have talked about the freedom he gave them and how they performed during those scenes.
He set a standard for spontaneity in acting, and that was higher than anybody else, before or since.
Also, many characters in Cassavetes' films are performers themselves, like the jazz singer in Shadows.
I had to call you on the phone.
And the strippers in The Killing of a Chinese Bookie. A common theme in Cassavetes' work is how life itself is often a kind of performance.
I'm only happy when I'm angry, when I'm sad, when I can play the fool, when I can be what people want me to be rather than be myself.
There are implicit, unwritten scripts that you are expected to read from.
Would you like some spaghetti?
And there will be social consequences if you deviate from them.
Get your ass down!
Cassavetes often focuses on characters who find the scripts given to them by social convention stultifying and restrictive, so they choose to improvise.
Did you see Tina's ass? Nick, that ass is... I've never seen anything so... her ass is this big!
Like, for instance, the main characters in Husbands, who are mourning the death of their friend, yet find the normal rituals of grief empty and inadequate.
I didn't like what he said.
I'm not going
He molded me, but I resent it.
Therefore, they act out in unhealthy and self-destructive ways. So in opening night, having Myrtle be an actor frustrated by the script she's given, who improvises in order to try and express herself meaningfully and authentically, parallels Cassavetes' own artistic process and reasons for becoming a filmmaker, and it literalizes the metaphor underpinning many of his films.
Who makes up the rules anyway? I mean, always play it cool, always put everybody down.
The role of Myrtle Gordon is played by Cassavetes' own wife, Gena Rowlands, and I imagine that he never for a single moment considered anyone else for this part. Myrtle, like Rowlands, is a famous, acclaimed actress.
Myrtle is the star of the show.
And the character Myrtle plays on stage is called Virginia, which was Rowlands' original birth name. Cassavetes and Rowlands had worked together many times in the past, and the movie is filled with references and parallels to their previous films. For instance, the 1971 film Minnie and Moskowitz is a romantic comedy that stars Gena Rowlands as Minnie alongside another regular Cassavetes collaborator, Seymour Cassel. There are several references to Minnie and Moskowitz in opening night. When Nancy is struck by the car at the start of the film, the man that comes to help her has the exact same ponytail, sideburns, moustache combination that Seymour Cassel rocks in Minnie and Moskowitz. Plus, Cassel shows up as himself in a cameo at the end, as one of the celebrity audience members coming backstage to congratulate the cast and crew. There are several parallels between Minnie and Myrtle. Both are single, professional women who work in the arts, with Minnie having a job in a gallery. Both have a habit of hiding behind large sunglasses when they want to conceal their appearance or emotions.
You put your sunglasses on at night.
And both women are in the midst of an emotional crisis.
I seem to have lost the reality of the reality.
It's an effort to breathe sometimes because the air just isn't light enough.
The scene from Minnie and Moskowitz that's most clearly referenced in opening night is when Minnie comes home to find the married man she's having an affair with waiting for her. He then verbally and physically abuses her, slapping her several times in the face. Rowlands had not been told in advance who would be playing the role of her abuser, and was shocked to discover that it would be Cassavetes himself. The sight of a woman being slapped in the face, Gena Rowlands in particular, is fairly ubiquitous in Cassavetes' filmography. And this has often led to him being criticised on feminist grounds, with some even calling him a misogynist. In opening night, Myrtle is very resistant to playing the scene where she gets slapped. Despite the director Manny's repeated insistence that she do it, and that she actually get hit for real.
We could swing at you and miss, but then we wouldn't hear the slap.
Myrtle insists on the phone to Manny that being slapped is humiliating.
But it's not humiliating. There's nothing humiliating about it.
An assertion that seems to imply that, in her opinion, for a woman to be hit on stage is wrong in any context. However, she seems especially upset at the thought of being slapped by Maurice, who was, up until recently, her lover. And Maurice, of course, like Minnie's lover, is played by John Cassavetes himself. This might be wild speculation on my part, but the scene in part feels like an apology from Cassavetes to Rowlands for what happened during the making of Minnie and Moskowitz.
What is he? Want to punch me? Here, punch me. Here, punch me. Go ahead, hit me.
Ready? Hear that? One more.
As well as a reflection on what it means for him as a man to portray violence against women.
Good.
It's notable, I think, that he portrays Manny, the director, to be both a bully and an idiot.
David, would you please leave the stage so we can go on?
Manny seems incapable of actually respecting Myrtle, empathizing with her as a woman, or justifying the scene from an artistic standpoint.
It's a tradition. Actresses get slapped. It's a tradition. Now, do you want to be a star? Do you want to be unsympathetic? Now, it's mandatory. You get hit. That's it.
The other Cassavetes-Rowlands collaboration that opening night heavily references is their most acclaimed work together, A Woman Under the Influence from 1974. In that film, Rowlands plays a housewife and mother named Mabel, who is struggling with mental illness. A Woman Under the Influence was, in fact, originally intended to be a play, but Gena Rowlands refused to perform such an intense role on a recurring nightly basis. There are many parallels between Myrtle and Mabel. Both women are performers, with Mabel frequently treating her house like a sort of stage, dancing or performing comedic skits.
I'll pay the rent. Why, you curses filed again.
Both women have severe issues with alcohol, and both women have mental health problems, frequently experiencing hallucinations.
Mama? Kids? Kids, where are you?
In some ways, Myrtle feels like a synthesis of Minnie and Mabel. And of course, all three women's names begin with the letter M. Just as Seymour Cassel has a cameo at the end, so too does Peter Falk, who played Mabel's husband Nick in A Woman Under the Influence, with the two even sharing an embrace. To me, in this moment, they always seem to become Nick and Mabel again, just for a second. In both Minnie and Moskowitz and A Woman Under the Influence, the mothers of Gena Rowlands' characters are played by her own mother, Lady Rowlands.
Of course with heels.
Meanwhile, the mothers of her romantic partners are played by Cassavetes' mother, Catherine Cassavetes. Both mothers then also appear in opening night as the two spiritualists that Sarah, Myrtle's maternal figure, takes her to. I think all of these parallels make opening night something of a Rosetta Stone for understanding Cassavetes' work. The film is a deliberate self-reflection on what he wants to achieve with his art, and what it means to him that his art and his life are so firmly interlinked that the two are in some ways inseparable. During the climactic performance where Maurice and Myrtle start improvising, there reaches a point where they are clearly no longer in character anymore. They are simply themselves on stage.
Well, I am not me.
And I know that I am someone else.
Do you think I am too?
Yes.
Okay, it's definite then. We've been invaded.
The drama we are watching unfold has nothing to do with Virginia and her husband, really. It's about these two actors and their relationship with one another. We have to wonder if Maurice and Myrtle also fall away after a while, and whether we are really just watching John and Gena up on that stage. The audience in the theatre, the real audience, who don't know what they are supposed to be watching, might, quite possibly, in that moment, have thought that it was Cassavetes and Rowlands who were going off script and riffing with each other. When we interact with a work of art by a favourite artist, it can often feel as though our experience is mediated by our relationship with that artist. Or I suppose, if you want to be a bit cynical, our relationship with that artist's cultivated persona. We can dismiss this as parasocial, and obviously there are dangers to becoming too obsessed with an artist, as we see with Nancy in the film. Yet I feel like we shouldn't dismiss this tendency entirely. It's a key part of what makes art moving, powerful, and worthwhile. As opening night shows us, artists do often put a very genuine part of themselves out there when making their art. And when an audience responds to that, the connection that they make with that work of art and with the artist can be as real and as important to their lives as any personal relationship. Opening night hasn't really attained a classic status, although its influence can be felt in many other films about the theatre, like Birdman and The Clouds of Silmaria. Pedro Almodovar directly recreated a scene from the film as an homage in his film All About My Mother.
Gotta make magic, magic out of tragic.
There was an ill-fated West End musical adaptation of Opening Night, starring Sheridan Smith, that opened in March 2024, and I originally wanted to get this video finished before then, which obviously did not go to plan. If you want to incentivize me to make videos faster and get to watch my videos early, then you can subscribe to my Patreon. Then I'll do an exclusive review of the West End musical version of the film, for patrons only. And if that's not a reason to sign up, I don't know what is. I want to say thanks to my current patrons, Tim Richardson, Patrick Ellis, Lewis Beer, William French, and Anil Dave.